Oh my God. You know, I never thought a meaningless game 82 where no team has any playoff implication. Both of these teams suck. Both teams are at the bottom of the standings. I never thought a meaningless game like this would make me stress the way that I stressed the entire goddamn day. It did. It did. But thank the Lord, my God, it's over. Thank the Lord it's over. And the Flyers, they finally did something right. Even though the game was so stupid. The game was so stupid. My God, the Buffalo was dominating for half of the game, and then the Flyers dominated for the other half of the game. Buffalo completely just went off, just stopped. They just stopped. They made it 4-1. They missed a couple of chances. They had a power play that was terrible, and the Flyers just took control from there. They kept scoring, and they kept scoring, and they kept scoring, and they kept scoring. Matvei Michkov had 2 goals. I love that, but not now, Michkov. Fuck off. Sean Couturier, Tyson Forster making it a 4-3 game. Buffalo having all these breakaways, and they can't fucking beat Alexei Kolosov, one of the worst goaltenders in the goddamn league. What else? Sean Couturier almost goddamn tying it if it wasn't for James Reimer in the goddamn goal line. Oh, thank God Buffalo scored an empty netter, because then Bobby Brink had to score with 18 seconds left, and then with 5 seconds left, they almost fucking tie it. Like, what is going on here? What did I just witness? Stupidity. Stupidity is what I just witnessed, because that game was stupid. 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 Oh. Oh, I never thought I would stress so much for a game 82 in my life. My God, that was, I was literally, I stood up. Like, this is how stressed I was. I stood up in front of my television, praying and hoping that Buffalo would have scored again. My God, it's sad to say it like that, but that's how I was feeling. I was literally hate watching this game. Hate watching this game as a Flyers fan, wanting the Flyers to lose in regulation. And they did. And oh boy, they did. They did. Through all the stress, through all the almost heart attacks that we had tonight, because me and you, Michael, we feel the same in the chat. All the heart attacks tonight. They did the right thing. They did the right thing. And that was losing regulation. Losing regulation to where you slot yourself in for the 4th best odds for the draft lottery, and now you guarantee yourself a top 6 pick. That was the most important thing the Flyers needed to do. It was a very frustrating path of getting here, because once they fired Torts, Bradshaw comes in as the interim. They kept winning all these games. Made it more difficult than it needed to be. But at the end of the day, they lock in the 4th best odds. And now you guarantee yourself a top 6 pick, which is the most important thing going towards here. So, before we get into the rest of today, everybody, or the rest of tonight, 2 streams back to back, basically. Phillies recap, now this. Haven't talked Flyers in a little bit, but I figured, but after everything that has been going on with this team, you might as well do that. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Sports. If you are new to the channel, I recommend you hitting that subscribe button. It does me a very great deal of service. You can also drop a like and leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can also use the code TTP Sports, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. It is a great deal. Do not pass it up. You can also leave a follow at TTP Sports on TikTok and Instagram for Reels Shorts and all of the other good short form content. So, into the business today, the Flyers closed out their regular season. Once again, not making the playoffs. Obviously, we knew that was not going to be the case. It was basically just tanking the rest of the way. Danny Briere basically did everything at the trade deadline to make this team basically lower the ceiling, lower the floor, make sure you lose every game possible. Then John Tortorella had to go get himself fired. Bradshaw became interim. Then this team playing looser, playing basically with a free will at that point. They went and start winning. They played better. And granted, they were also playing weaker competition, but still, the winning was very frustrating. But then, Tuesday night against Columbus, they got shut out in the final home game, and today against the Buffalo Sabres, even though this game was stressful as hell, they still achieved the goal, and that was lose in regulation, because the Flyers needed to lose in regulation because of the 3-way tie with them, Seattle, and the Boston Bruins. All those teams were tied. Flyers had the least regulation wins out of all of them. That's the tiebreaker. And you needed to lose in regulation to stay tied with those teams to guarantee yourself the 4th overall pick best odds for the NHL draft lottery. So, basically, throughout this entire process, Flyers fans were just very frustrated. So many people just wanted them to keep losing and losing and losing. And then you had the group of Flyers fans that were like, why do you want these guys to keep losing? Don't you want Matvei Michkov to succeed? Don't you want Tyson Forrester, who's scoring more goals, to succeed? Don't you enjoy watching these guys perform? Also, the general argument that people love to bring up when talking about, losing, tanking, and all that stuff. Oh, players don't tank. Oh, coaches don't tank. Oh, teams just don't tank because there's too much pride involved in there. They're not going to go out there and purposely lose games. That's not the point. I'm not telling the players to lose. I'm just telling you, put yourself in the best possible position to lose games. And I do think Danny Briere did that because you have one of the worst goaltending tandems in the National Hockey League. And I think Danny Briere kind of, maybe put his foot forward here for tonight's game and decided to put Alexei Kolosov in the net instead of Ivan Fedotov, because Ivan Fedotov was originally supposed to be the starter for tonight's game for the Flyers. And then, like a few hours later, it became Alexei Kolosov to be the Flyers starter. So everybody was probably thinking, oh my God, Danny Briere, did he step in and put Alexei Kolosov in to just basically commit to the tank? Because Alexei Kolosov's numbers are worse than Fedotov's numbers, and Fedotov's numbers are bad. So that means Kolosov's numbers are even worse. So you did have yourself in the best possible position to lose this game, but it was going great to start off. Buffalo was dominating the game, scoring goals left and right. They get a 2-0 lead. You do make it 2-1 thanks to Matvei Michkov, but Buffalo eventually makes it 4-1. Score an early goal in the second period. It looks like they're going to run away with the game, and then eventually they start missing some chances. They have a wide open net to hit. They shoot the referee in the fucking balls, literally. And and then Buffalo goes to a power play where they look completely dreadful, and the Flyers were just dominating that entire penalty kill, and the entire flow of the game just changed from there. Flyers eventually made it 4-2 thanks to Matvei Michkov again. Then they score an early goal in the start of the third period between Bobby Brink and Tyson Forrester, and then that was the stress fest that ensued going on the rest of the third period. This was actually a quick game. There weren't a lot of whistles because both teams were just not committed to playing defense, and Buffalo completely took their foot off the gas after they made it 4-1. Really, they just really didn't try at all, and the Flyers really took it to them, and that's what made this game closer than it needed to be. Buffalo made it a 5-3 game at one point, but then the goal was taken back because the Flyers decided to challenge for a goaltender interference. The Flyers actually almost tied this game too, 4-4, if it wasn't for James Reimer making an incredible save and the frickin' goal line preventing the puck from going completely over. So Jesus Christ, that gave every Flyers fan a heart attack, including myself. So thankfully that was the case. And then of course the Flyers get a late power play in this game, but the one man that stayed consistent, the one man that stayed clutch throughout the entire year, Rocky Thompson's power play. You can always guarantee Rocky Thompson's power play to not have anything beneficial for this team. Buffalo, they get a lot of shorthanded chances. They eventually score into an empty net. The Flyers made it 5-4, and of course they almost had a chance with like 5 seconds left thanks to Michkov once again to tie the game up. But Buffalo won an ensuing faceoff. They get the puck out of the zone. They win the game. Flyers lose in regulation, and now you seal yourself for the 4th best odds in the draft lottery. And going back to that discussion about people talking about why do you want this team to lose so much? What is so important about these 4th best lottery odds? Like, doesn't it really, like, people like try to bring up the argument that, oh, it doesn't matter where you draft in the NHL draft, go and find your star and all of this stuff. Well, the counter argument to that, where it's basically been my standpoint throughout this entire thing, even though I really haven't been able to share this standpoint on YouTube because the Flyers have basically been untalkable. So yeah, it's been really bad for them. But when you're looking at this draft, when you listen to all the pundits, all the the people that are more credited towards the NHL draft, people that follow the scouts, everything around there, a lot of these people talk about how weak this draft is. A lot of people talk about how this is possibly just, a 6-player draft, and then, 7 through the rest of the NHL draft is a bunch of unknowns, especially in the first round. It's that top 6 where it's more of the guaranteed thing, even though you don't really have that generational talent in this draft. The top 6 still had some potential of being very good players in this league. And that's where it really ends. You don't really know what the rest of the first round's going to be. And then, the rest of the NHL draft is already a lottery ticket at that point. So getting the 4th overall pick, getting the 4th best odds, it's not about winning the draft lottery. It's more about preparing yourself and putting yourself in the best possible position for the worst case scenario. Because Think about this. It's in a 6-player draft. You want to guarantee yourself a top 6 pick. So now that you have the 4th best odds in the NHL draft lottery, if a team that is below you, say like, a team now like Boston, a team now like Seattle, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, etc., if one of those teams or 2 of those teams were to win the draft lottery, move up to pick 1 and or move up to pick 2, the Flyers possibly move back 1 or 2 slots in the draft if the Flyers end up not winning the draft lottery. So when you have the 4th best odds and 2 teams jump you, you move down to pick 6. If 1 team jumps you, you move down to pick 5, and you still remain in that top 6 in a 6-player draft. Say if the Flyers, because in this scenario for this game, the Flyers could have only got the 4th best odds, the 6th best odds, or the 7th best odds. There was no way possible hell they could get 5th for some reason. That's just the way the scenarios worked out. If the Flyers were to pull this game and get it into overtime, they would have automatically locked in the 6th best odds, and if they won this game in regulation, they would have had the 7th best odds. So, say if they got the 6th best odds and 2 teams jumped them, they fall back to the 8th pick and out of that top 6. And if they were in the 7th best odds, 2 teams jumped them, they fall back to the 9th best pick in the draft. So, that's the point here. You want to set yourself up and you want to put yourself in the best possible case in the draft lottery to prepare yourself just in case you get jumped by 2 other teams. It's not about winning the draft lottery, it's about being in the best possible position for this draft specifically. If this was a deeper draft, if there was a lot more talent in this draft, if this draft was more stacked, yeah, I still would be annoyed if the Flyers didn't end up with a top 5 pick. But there was still really great talent from 5 to 10. I wouldn't complain that badly. I would still be annoyed, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. This scenario in this type of draft where it's not that deep and you really can't guarantee what type of talent you're going to get past pick 6, you needed to get a top 4 pick. You needed to get a top 5 pick. You got to guarantee a top 6 pick. And that's what the Flyers did right here. Now, like I said, they made us stress through the entire fucking way with this goddamn game because it was so stupid. They got the job done. They got the job done. They did what's best for business. They did what's best for business. And now you have a possible chance with a top 6 pick to get another high-end talent to pair with Matvei Michkov. That is the most important thing that the Flyers need to do with this draft. You've got to get another elite talent. And with this draft, there's a defenseman, I believe Schaefer. There's a couple of centers in there. There's a winger in there. So it's basically wherever the cards lay. If you win the draft lottery, you could pick the best of the bunch. If you win the 1st or the 2nd overall pick, you could pick some of the best of the bunches there. If you stay with 4, you take the best player available. Same thing with 5, same thing with 6, whatever player falls to you in that range. You have the chance to pick best player available. Now, hopefully they don't go in the freaking mold of what they did last year with Jet Luchenko, and when Zeev Buium was still on the board, they decided to go with Luchenko. I do think now with being in a top 4 pick selection, possible top 6, I'm sure they'll go best player available in this standpoint. I hope. So it's what they needed to do. Because I'm just tired of this team not being, not putting themselves in position to, during this entire rebuild stage, to get themselves a top 6 pick, to get themselves a top 5 pick. It's really just, they got lucky with Matvei Michkov. They got lucky. They got lucky with global things preventing all that stuff. Teams afraid of drafting Russian players and afraid of them not possibly coming over. You got lucky with Matvei Michkov. And I'm thankful you got lucky with Matvei Michkov because this guy is going to be a stud for years to come. He is going to be the face of your franchise for years to come. He is going to be a superstar in the NHL. You need more talent surrounding him. You need more. You lost a 5th overall pick in Cutter Gauthier because he did not want to play here for whatever reason, and he looks like he was turning a corner as the season came to an end with Anaheim, finished with 20 goals. You need more talent in this system. And yeah, I'm excited for some of the players that are in the prospect system, but do I guarantee that some of these players are going to be studs, that are going to be stars, and do they project for these specific situations? I don't think they do. I really don't. Now, there's still some players that I have intrigue on this roster, obviously. Tyson Forster definitely turned it on as the season went towards the end, scored a lot of goals. He ended with, I believe, 24-plus goals. I believe he was tied with the team lead before Michkov scored the 2 goals today. I believe he had 24 to end the season, or 25 now to end the season because he did score tonight. So there's intrigue there with Forster. I think Jamie Drysdale had a very nice finish to the season. I thought, there's a little bit, of a salvageable situation with there. So if Jamie Drysdale turns himself into possibly being a top pairing defenseman, maybe a top 4 defenseman that can quarterback a power play, maybe that makes the Cutter Gauthier trade a little bit more salvageable. And maybe you could, not bite your tongue as much for that trade. So there's something there. Goaltending wise, we don't know what the goaltending situation is going to be. The Flyers are obviously going to make changes with their goaltending. We have no idea what's happening with Kolosov. There's rumors that he's going back to Belarus to play in the KHL again, and we have no idea if Fedotov's going to be on the team next season and what the Flyers do with his contract. So basically, I think the only guaranteed goaltender to be back next year is Sam Ersson, and most likely he's not going to be the starting goaltender. I would assume the Flyers go out either in the free agency market to get a stopgap veteran goaltender that can maybe split the games 50 to 32 or something like that with Sam Ersson. And then you have Bjarnason, who's coming over from his juniors. He's most likely going to be playing with the Phantoms next year, probably be their starting goaltender. You still have Zavragan over in the KHL playing with SKA St. Petersburg. I believe he still has a couple of more years left on a contract that he just signed. So, yeah, you do have some goaltenders in the system, but right now you don't have anything that's guaranteed. Defenseman, I don't know if you have anything that is guaranteed. Forward, you just brought over Bump from Western Michigan, so there's some intrigue and excitement around him because he was very good for Western Michigan, and possibly he can look like a steal of that draft, being picked in the 5th round because he was on an absolute tear for Western Michigan. He was one of their best players en route to them winning a national title for men's hockey in the NCAA. You just brought over Kaplan from Boston University, who Bump actually played against, for BU in the national, the tournament final, the Frozen Four. So even though he's probably not intriguing as Bump is, it's still, another young prospect that you brought into this. They're, bringing in some young talent. That's what this team needs. They need more. They need more youth. They need more high-end talent, and that's what's very important about this team drafting this high. Because if you look at this draft right now, just look at some of where the players are ranking and projected to go. They're saying it's a 6-player draft, and if you look at a lot of the projections right now, I'm looking at this on Tankathon, so I doubt Tankathon's like an official place you go to look at draft projections and all that stuff. You probably I know the NHL and Essential Scouting released their top skaters for North America and Europe, so there's definitely some things that are over there, but you probably won't see any official draft rankings until we get closer to May, until we get closer to June, until we get right near the start of the draft or something like that. So that's still ways away right here. But if you look at the top 6 right here, and this is probably where a lot of the projections are going to be, you got Matthew Schaefer from Erie. He's a defenseman. He's projected to go 1st overall. Michael Meza, he's one of the best players in the OHL right now. He plays for Saginaw. He's 134 points in 65 games, 62 goals, 72 points. He's a center and left winger. Some people project him to be a winger when he comes into the NHL, but still, that's a talent that you can't pass up if you do eventually have a chance to get him. You got Porter Martone from Mississauga. He plays in the OHL. He's a very talented winger, 6'3", 207 pounds. Then you got James Hagens from Boston College. His stock has definitely fallen off a little bit. He's still like a top 5, top 6 style of pick, but his college numbers, he's a point per game in college. He has 37 points in 37 games, 11 goals, 26 assists. I think he showed more better in the World Juniors than he has in college. I think just because he really hasn't been like the flashiest player in college, I think just his stock has fallen a little bit, because I believe even like a year or two before this draft, Hagens was projected to be the 1st overall pick, and his stock has fallen. Then you got Frondell playing over in Europe. He's putting up some of the best numbers that a player his age over in the SHL, so that's very intriguing to see right there. He's got 25 points in 29 games. You got Caleb Desnoyers in the QMJHL. He's 6'2", 172 pounds, 84 points in 56 games. Desnoyers actually has a brother in the Flyers organization. So I believe Elliot Desnoyers, who plays for the Phantoms, so there is some familiarity there. Then you got Victor Eklund, Roger McQueen, Jackson Smith, Jake O'Brien, so and the list goes down in 4th year. So yeah, you put yourself into a position to get maybe one of these top forwards. I don't know where teams would go, because when you do like the sim thing here on Tankathon, I think they make, so right now, like if you have it in the normal order, San Jose has the 1st pick, Chicago has the 2nd pick, Nashville 3rd, Flyers 4th, so on and so forth. I think it bases the pick on what they think the team needs the most, and so they have San Jose picking Schaefer, they have Chicago picking Meza, they got Nashville picking Martone, they got the Flyers picking Hagens. So say if we sim the draft lottery and say that try to just to get it to where the Flyers pick the 1st overall or something like that. So if I can get it there, because not getting lucky with the sims right now. Every sim is the Flyers falling over. Jesus Christ. Could I just get it to a sim where the Flyers maybe pick first overall here? Come on, tech. There we go. So if I get it to a sim where it says the Flyers pick first overall, they project the Flyers picking Michael Misa, because I think that's one of the team's most important needs is centers. So yeah, if the Flyers were to win the draft lottery, I would not be shocked if they go after Misa. I wouldn't be shocked if they go after Schaefer. So I'm not sure where they would go, but you put yourself in a position to get one of these top talents in this draft, and that is what is important. Do I think they win the draft lottery? I don't know, because honest to God, if we look at the pick odds right here with the top 6 for on Tankathon, they put a lot of the percentages out here. So right now, for the Flyers pick right here at 4. So their percentage chance to pick first or second overall is a 9.5% chance. Their chances to pick third overall, they really can't, because the NHL prevented that from happening now. Their chance to pick third overall is 0.3%. Their chances to pick fourth overall are 15.4%, so it's really not that high to stay where they're at. And then their chances to pick fifth overall are 44.6, so their chances are greater to pick fifth overall than fourth. And then their chances to pick sixth overall are 20.8. So their chances to pick fifth and sixth are higher than their chances at staying at 4. So really don't know what's going to happen at that rate. And if you look at the same thing with the Nashville Predators, their chances are greater at moving back and moving ahead than staying at 3. Nashville has a 7.8% chance to stay at 3. They got an 11.5% chance to move up to 1, 11.2% chance to move up to 2, a 39.7% chance to move back to 4, and a 29.8% chance to move back to 5th. So it's crazy stuff. It's definitely crazy stuff. And then eventually, once you move down the board, some teams have better percentages of just staying where they're at. So, like I said, it's putting yourself in that best possible case scenario of the worst case scenario, and that is moving back 2 spots. And the worst case scenario, you move back to 6 now instead of moving back to 8 or moving back to 9, which would have been if you won in overtime or lost in overtime or won in regulation. So you did what's best. You did what is best for business. This game was so stressful. It's not even funny. It was so stressful. It's just ridiculous, man. So crazy with this team. So crazy. So we'll just see how things go. We'll see how things go. It's funny, Tankathon posted their first sim with the official odds for the NHL draft lottery, and their first sim was the Flyers winning the draft lottery with the Rangers getting in the second overall pick. That's funny. That is funny. Oh man. Oh man. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Of course, with this team, of course, they have all their draft picks in a year where it's a very weak draft. So, man, crazy game now. Crazy game. Now, brings on the offseason, brings on what happens, and we see where it goes from there. But they did what they had to do. They did what they had to do, and that's the most important thing. Bottom out, get as high as a pick as you can, and that's what this team did. So, at the end of the day, they did the right thing. They did the right thing. Now we'll see what they do during the offseason. I believe this is the last day in total for the NHL regular season. The playoffs don't start till Saturday, so that'll always be some fun hockey to watch for the first time in a while by watching this goddamn Flyers team all year, watching some pretty bad hockey. So now we got a chance to watch some good hockey over the course of the playoffs, so that'll be fun. I think it's only 2 games starting on Saturdays, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But I think for now, we're good. I think we're good to go here. So, in terms of the weekend, I think I'm debating on what to do with the Phillies recaps this weekend just because they're playing the Miami Marlins. I think I'll just play it by ear. I might take, just recap the entire series as a whole on Sunday. And it's also just tied with WrestleMania weekend. So, a lot of wrestling to watch this weekend. So, probably want to put more of my focus on that. But the Phillies to the side just because they're playing the Marlins. We'll see where it goes from there. But, you'll see something pop up in your subscription feed when you do see it. So appreciate the few that joined in here when you did during the stream when it was live, and hopefully thank you to the other people that watched when it wasn't live, when it's just, you're awake or you have time to watch this. So appreciate all of you guys regardless. So Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Do not forget to drop a like. Don't forget to leave a comment as well. Don't forget to use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Also, don't forget to leave a follow on TTP Sports on TikTok and Instagram for all the short content. So, thank you guys for all this stuff.